Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like, yeah. Here comes the.
Yo, what is going on, YouTube? It's your boy, Calvin Domingo, aka Steezy A. Smith, coming at y'all with another live stream. I know it's been a couple of weeks, and I know this is a little different. We're going to be talking more Rams football than we are Seattle Seahawks football today, so I hope you guys don't mind. I do have a very, very, very important guest with me, as I like to call them. You guys might be familiar with the term by now, VIGs. And if you aren't, then it stands for a very important guest. And Payo Time, an LA Rams YouTuber, will be joining me in about the next 5 to 10 minutes. And so if you guys haven't already, or if you guys aren't familiar with them, the link will be in the description down below. But please show my guys some love. Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Payo Time. I know as Seahawks fans, we don't get along with Rams fans, nor should we get along with Rams fans, but I gotta admit, this guy has got to be one of my favorite Rams fans ever. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't be having him on the show now, right? So definitely don't forget to show him some love. Like I said, his link to his YouTube channel will be in the description down below. So please don't forget to show my guy some love. Man, where do we even start? Bobby Wagner to the Rams. Before I bring on Payo, though, I did just kind of want to put out a little take on the whole situation. You guys might have seen this on Twitter, but I wasn't mad. You know, I'm not sad. Yeah, I was heartbroken a little bit, but, you know, I can't be mad at Bobby Wagner signing with the Rams. You know, I knew it was inevitable. Richard Sherman, one of his closest friends, he's been in his ear for a while now. And not only have they both been, you know, their own agents for some time, but Richard Sherman, after he was kicked to the curb by the Seahawks back in, 2017, he signed with the division rival, the San Francisco 49ers, and I didn't ever see that coming. I don't think any Seahawks fan ever saw that coming, and so I think that kind of set a precedent for a Bobby Wagner, and with him now in LA, I wish him the best. You know, I don't know if I want to see the Rams hoisting another Super Bowl trophy, but I do wish him success. I do wish him more All-Pros. I do hopefully see a Defensive Player of the Year, you know, in his future. I think it's almost criminal as to, you know, he doesn't have a Defensive Player of the Year award yet. I know he's gotten All Pros and Pro Bowls and whatnot, but I think the last couple of years here in Seattle, he's just been underutilized. He hasn't had very much talent around him. There hasn't been any sort of pass rush in Seattle. There hasn't been any sort of ball hawks in the secondary aside from Quandre Diggs. And so I think with the Bobby Wagner now teaming up with the Jalen Ramsey, I think it's still the best corner in football. With an Aaron Donald, I don't need to touch on that. Obviously, he's the best defensive player in all of football, if not just the best player in football, period. So I think with Aaron Donald in front of him, with the Jalen Ramsey behind him, I actually think we could see a resurgence from a Bobby Wagner. Now, we will touch on that a little bit more once Payo Time arrives. But I kind of just wanted to put that out there. You know, I'm not surprised. I'm not mad. I thought it was inevitable, and I saw it coming. But before I do bring on a Payo Time, I do want to go through some of the comments. Oh my God, this just in. How you doing, brother? Yes, sir. Thank you so much for tuning in, bro. When you getting me on the show? Hey, bro. To be fair though, I think I sent out an invite. What was it? I think it was on my Super Bowl show. But you had a show, and I was on that show, and so I wasn't gonna, bombard you. I'm not gonna hold that against you. But I don't see myself talking Packers football anytime soon. I will be talking a whole bunch of playoffs, NBA playoffs, once the NBA playoffs roll around. So, Justin, look forward to that. You'll definitely be on more than a few of those, as many of those as you would like, honestly. But thank you so much for tuning in. My guy, Brian, salute, bro. How you doing, Brian? Thanks for tuning in. Nick, how you doing, Nick? Nah, Chief, what's up, Steezy? My Atlanta Hawks sealed it by Ice Trade 3. We ruined KD's 55-point game. But that's crazy. Last time I was actually paying attention, I saw KD had 51 was the game tied. So, man, that's real cool to see him pull it off. I didn't expect that. I'm not going to lie. Matty Ice, what's up, brother? Watching Duke and Steezy today. Let's go. Heat, by the way. Oh yeah. Hey, Matty Ice, you from Florida, huh? Hey, I'm a Heat guy, too. I'm a Heat fan, too. I don't know if you knew that. I know it's been a while since I've dropped Miami Heat content. I've just been so fixated on football and the Seahawks and whatnot, but I definitely want to get back into, putting out some more NBA content out there. It's been too long. And I was actually just watching the Duke and the UNC game myself just before the stream started. So I know it's halftime right now. So that's why now's a good time to kind of get on this. And then Payo Time, hope you all having a solid Saturday. Excited to talk some football. Yes, sir. Likewise. Okay, well, without further ado, let me see. Kind of mad we have to go against Bobby 2 times now. Well, we had to do that with the Richard Sherman. So I guess it is what it is, and it isn't what it isn't, right? And we were the ones that released him, by the way, and we did it with a little bit of disrespect. So I think it's only right. I think if I was in his shoes, honestly, I'd do the same thing. If the Seahawks pushed me to the curb, I'm doing the same thing. I'm wanting to stick it to my former team, to my ex, because they did me dirty. Simple. Miami Heat, Seattle Seahawks, baby, just like you, brother. Let's go. Hey, Matty Ice, once I get into Florida, we need to link up, bro. We need to link up. Okay, all right. And then one more time before I do bring on Payo, if you guys aren't already, please hit that subscribe button. Follow on Instagram, on Twitter, same handle as DZA Smith. Please do the same for my special guest at Payo Time, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Now, without further ado, let's bring my guy on board. Please welcome Mr. Payo Time.
Hey, how's it going, Steezy and everybody in the chat? So good to be here today. Thanks for having me on the show. It's an honor.
Hey, Pay, I know it's a little late over there in Canada, so I really appreciate you for taking the time. And like I said, it's not every day I bring on Rams fans. It's not every day I talk Rams on my channel, so I really appreciate you for coming out and taking the time. How are you doing today?
Dude, I'm having a solid Super Saturday. I'm on vacation right now, so work, I'm not even thinking about it. And I'm stoked I just get to talk football because it's the off season and this is the therapy we have to get through it, right?
I mean, for you, your Rams have had, my gosh, we'll touch on it in a little bit, but you guys have had a splitted off season. I mean, I think going into the year, you guys were like negative 22 in the red, and here you guys bringing on board Bobby Wagner, Allen Robinson. I don't know how you guys do it, but I can only imagine how you're feeling. I remember talking to Joe actually a couple of weeks ago. He said he was still feeling that Super Bowl hangover. And so I got to ask you, are you still kind of in that Super Bowl hangover type stage?
I proudly say I am a Super Bowl champion fan right now. And I will say that till the season starts. And as soon as the first game happens, then I am a defending Super Bowl champion fan. But no, it's fun when your team wins the Super Bowl. I don't know, for years, I've been a Rams fan my whole life. Since I was a wee lad, and to just have all those years of the team just sucking or no one caring about the Rams. I remember people used to patronize me of oh, you're a Rams fan, that's cute, what? And just no one cared about the Rams, right? Unless you were a Rams fan, and then you were frustrated with how the team was being ran. And then here we are now. It's your team wins the Super Bowl, and I'm a grown enough man to appreciate when your team actually wins it. That it's not every day or every year that your team wins the Super Bowl. So I'm just really thankful for it. I totally, acknowledge that, we're in a Super Bowl window right now as a team, and hopefully we can win another one next year. But I'm just a thankful dude cheering on his favorite team, the LA Rams.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, like I said, bro, you got to be one of the nicest Rams fans out there. I wish all Rams fans were more like you, but, I guess, like I said earlier, it is what it is, and it isn't what it isn't, right?
Every fan base has its trolls. I've learned that.
And some have more than others.
Yeah.
Some have more than others.
That's true.
But Payo, let's just get right into it. Be honest with me. Upon being released from the Seahawks, did you think it was a possibility for Bobby to actually even sign with the Rams?
So, okay. So first off, when it happened, I was still just distracted by, to be honest, the Seahawks, Pete Carroll, because I don't want to trash your team or anything like that because I'm not much of a trash talker. But that press conference where Pete Carroll had to justify trading Russell Wilson and his whole second chance, where he just I thought about putting a super cut together of just Pete Carroll and how many times he said second chance in that press conference. But anyway, honestly, so they released him. And definitely the Seahawks didn't, do it the correct way, but, mistakes get made, especially when you're getting that close to the free agency opening, deadline period. But I immediately, when he was released, I was like, dude, if we could sign him, that'd be awesome. And I was probably I'd like to sign him, but I don't think we will. And then you know, we didn't really hear anything about Bobby Wagner going to any team for a while. And then I think in Rams Twitter, this whole like, you know, kind of movement started with the Ramley of just like, hey, like watching like Wagner watch like anything, right? And so then we heard he was visiting with the Rams, and I thought for sure he was going to sign that. I thought, you know, that was it, but he didn't. Then he went to go visit with the Ravens, and I don't know. Like, I think my biggest thing is just like learning from what I've learned about the Rams and how they manage their cap. I knew it was always going to come down to the numbers because we tried to re-sign Von Miller, but just Buffalo blew us out of the water with an offer we couldn't match. And so I knew it was going to come down to that with Wagner, and I was pretty stoked when I got that news. I got it in a very important meeting at work. My phone was blowing up that we got Wagner, like the Rams got Wagner, and you know, it's exciting. And then finally I got out of that meeting to record a video for my channel.
Which I actually had the chance to tune in and watch, you know, and I was watching and I was just like, man, I can't even be mad at this guy. You know what I mean? Because not only is he a good Rams dude, but like, I mean, Bobby Wagner, I can't be mad at him either. I mean, like I said at the beginning, you know what I mean? We were the ones who ultimately showed him the door. And not only did we show him the door, but it was in a disrespectful manner. And so yeah. I'm kind of just like, you know what? The consequences that come with that, I'm ready to face that. So, but you did bring up the ball. Oh, you were going to say something?
Well, and like, I just want to say, like, from Wagner's perspective, to be honest, I'm kind of shocked that more players aren't choosing teams in the NFC to go to because of the stacked AFC right now. So I actually think that, like, Wagner's made a smart career move to sign with a contender in the NFC.
Yeah, and we're actually going to we're actually going to touch on that later, but I agree with you 100%. I mean, when you look at the state of the NFC, outside of the Buccaneers and the Rams, I don't see any real threats. You know, as of right now, I don't think the Packers are threats. I think the Vikings could be a sneaky team. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I'm not seeing any real threats out there. And so we're seeing all this player movement. We're seeing a whole bunch of guys migrating from the NFC to the AFC. But why not more of the AFC to the NFC or from the NFC and sticking in the NFC? I don't get it. But this is the NFL that we're talking about, and there's a lot of things that a lot of people don't get. But you did bring up the Ravens, and so I kind of wanted to touch on that just for a little bit. Were you at all scared that he was going to spurn his hometown team and sign with the Ravens, or do you think he was just using the Ravens to kind of get more money out of the Rams?
Well, to be honest, I was a little confused by that because I know the Ravens have, you know, kind of the big they've quietly been having a really good off season. Mainly their team is getting healthier, but they have made some decent signings. And so there was a part of me that was like, you know what, if the Ravens pull what the Buffalo Bills did on us with Vaughn, and they just made him an offer that we couldn't match because of the way we do cap, where contracts are very much backloaded. And so we haven't got the details yet of Wagner's contract, but I don't expect him to get 11 million right this year. I know his contract is worth up to potentially 65 million, but kind of 50 million base salary. So that's big money. And when I'm a smart person and a rational person, I'm like, oh yeah, millions of dollars. He's his own agent. That's going to take a couple of days, maybe weeks to like negotiate. And so, but the fan in me is like, I just want to know like what's happening, what's going on. And so when he left LA, went to Baltimore for the visit, there was a part of me that was like, oh, you know what, maybe we're not going to get him. And I think I kind of went from like, it was a 50-50 shot to like a 60-40 he was going to go to Baltimore, but then hey, Les Snead made it happen.
And he always seems to make it happen. I mean, I wanted to touch on this later, but just because you kind of hit the perfect segue, he's talked about, or he's turned this into a viral meme, right? F them picks. Well, now a lot of people are talking about salary cap space is a myth, or the salary cap is a myth. And so, hold on, I'm looking for the question here. Here it is. So now that it appears that F cap space is gaining steam, is the salary cap actually a myth in the NFL, or are the Rams just more aggressive than everyone else?
So there's something that I really feel your viewers and a lot of NFL fans forget about Les Snead. He almost lost his job. He was hired the same year that Jeff Fisher was hired, for the Rams. So Jeff Fisher was hired first as the head coach, and then Les Snead was hired as the general manager. And his actual first move as a general manager was the RG3 trade. And if I'm being completely honest, he debacled that trade. We got 9 players for that one pick, and it turned into that. And I always think back to that of like, that trade really didn't work out that well for the Rams. The best player we got from it was probably Michael Brockers, and now he's with Detroit, but he was a great, defensive tackle for us for many years. But I always think back, like, Les Snead, he started off his career with a big trade that way, and maybe he just kind of learned from his mistakes, and he was given, a little bit of, freedom to make some mistakes that way, where a lot of GMs wouldn't have been given that freedom. And I think because of Les Snead's, job security and ability to trade picks the way he does and make these big signings. And I don't believe that the salary cap is a myth. I absolutely believe, it is real. I do believe that the Rams handle it in a way that a lot of other teams are going to follow suit, where they backload contracts, because the assumption is the salary cap is always going to go up. And if you have players that are willing to renegotiate their contract so that, you still get them their money, and the Rams as an organization are known for, paying players well. They're not known as a kind of a cheapskate franchise. And if you have that honest conversation of like, listen, we're trying to win a Super Bowl, like, you're going to get your money, but we're hoping you can do it in a way that as we navigate, our salary cap situation, right? And people forget Von Miller. We only paid him $900,000 because the Broncos paid the majority of his contract last season. Even though we only got him for 12 games, we had to give up a second and a third round pick for him, but it was well worth it.
I mean, it ended in a Super Bowl, so it's
exactly.
Like,
it's worth it, yeah.
After picks, right? After picks. I wanted to backtrack just a little bit. So you talked about how you were talking about Bobby Wagner's contract earlier and how we don't know the specifics and whatnot. So we got to see that for 5 years, $50 million, like you said, with the potential to make up to $65 million. But I also did hear on sports radio earlier today that a lot of people actually think that's more so a 2-year deal. Like, it's front loaded and that none of the years are really guaranteed after the first couple of years. Do you have any sort of insights?
I'll be honest. I've been checking every day for details on this contract, and it's kind of weird that contract details haven't come out yet, because normally in the NFL, you hear the signing and you hear the big numbers, and then it's, normally the day after or so you hear kind of the fine details to it. But with Wagner, we haven't yet, so that's interesting. I'd be shocked. Like, I do believe it will be a shorter year. Like, there'll be years that he can void out of it for sure. And it wouldn't surprise me if his second year has a larger cap hit than his first year. So I don't know. We'll see. Just because of the way the Rams salary cap is right now, my guess is it's between like 7 and 9 million, somewhere in there. But again, until we have final contract details, I'm not sure. 7-9 million for this season is a cap hit.
Totally understandable. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring that up was because with the Von Miller, so we saw that it was reported, 6 years, $120 million. But then we eventually found out that it was actually more a 3 year, $60 million contract, because the last 6 years, or excuse me, the last 3 years, I'm not sure if they were void years, but those were like almost non-guaranteed. And so I was kind of curious for Bobby. He's going to be 32 when the season starts. And I don't think the Rams are actually going to give him guaranteed money up until he's 37 years old. And so I'll be real curious to see what the final numbers look like. He is his own agent, and he has been since 2019. So that begs the question, is he the best agent in the NFL?
He's definitely up there. I still think Kirk Cousins' agent has that title, but but no, Bobby Wagner, again, kudos to him. Like, he's negotiating millions of dollars. Like, I would not have the confidence in my negotiating skills to negotiate, millions of dollars. Not that I do that for my job now, but yeah, I think that's fantastic. It's awesome that he doesn't have to pay an agent, that he can represent himself and he can go in, talk to the numbers. And I'm sure at sometimes those conversations can be difficult because, to my limited understanding of contract negotiations in the NFL, sometimes you have a front office saying tearing you down and saying yes, you can do this for us, but you have this thing about you or something like that. So I give kudos to Bobby Wagner for representing himself well, and he got paid.
Yeah, I mean, and for those of you guys that are tuned in, I have a stat down below. So since becoming his own agent in 2019, Bobby Wagner has negotiated himself a total and a maximum of 8 years and $104 million with the maximum value of $119 million with incentives. And he's done all this after, 6-7 years in the league. And so I think it's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, when we look at teams pay salary cap specialists. That's an actual position in the front office. For Seattle, that guy is Matt Thomas. And he's literally paid to be a salary cap specialist. And so, like you alluded to, Payo, I mean, for Bobby to kind of come in and not only excel on the football field, but to also excel off the football field. I mean, my gosh, does he want to be an agent? Once his playing career is over? Because if he wants to be, I can see him doing a damn good job at it. I mean, he knows what he's doing, being able to kind of crunch all the numbers in and whatnot. He's essentially his own agent, like we talked about. So I think it's real cool to see him do that. Like I said at the top of the show, Richard Sherman, who's been in his ear, especially recently, also, did the same thing towards the end of his career. And so I think it's really nice to see players, taking a stand and not having to pay an agent. Imagine if more and more players did that. It'd be crazy and agents would lose jobs. But, not everyone wants to do all that off the field work. And so all the more respect to Bobby, right?
Yeah. And I think it would change the entire sports landscape if more players did that. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
No doubt, bro. Well, now to transition, I want to talk about your guys' history of inside linebackers. And I know you kind of, brought this up to me off air, but Bobby Wagner is the first inside/middle linebacker the Rams have made an investment in the less needed Sean McVay era, at least. And so why do you think this is? What makes Bobby Wagner so special?
So thinking back to the last kind of inside linebacker that really got paid for the Rams, it'd probably be James Laurinaitis. We've had other, linebackers who have done well and put up, good numbers. I don't know if we've never had someone on Bobby Wagner's level at that position. I think there's two reasons why. Is number one, I think just with the comp pick formula that the Rams use, the production from those players at those positions who have been there often were inflated because they got to play with Aaron Donald and a pretty good team around them. And they just felt, let these players walk free agency. We'll get a third or fourth, maybe a 6th round comp pick for them. They get paid by another team. And we've seen a lot of those players go to other teams and not do as well as they did with the Rams. And, Corey Littleton kind of being the most recent one. And I just think that Bobby Wagner, he represents an opportunity to really kind of help the Rams run defense and just our defense as a whole. But the Rams, we've always kind of been known as a team that you can run on for even in the McVay Snead era. And yeah, I think that this shows that the Rams are committed to improving their roster. And I said this in my video that Bobby Wagner, he's not a replacement for Von Miller or a pass rush or anything like that. He brings an entirely new skill set that the Rams just didn't have and we haven't had. So I'm excited to see him in a Rams jersey. I know that might be tough for Seattle Seahawks fans, but I promise you that I will cheer him on every single Sunday.
Please promise to take care of him.
You'll take care of him.
I'm not gonna lie though, Payo. No shade, no hate, but I don't think he looks nearly as good in a Rams uniform. But look, you made a good point, right? Because a lot of people are looking at it. a lot of people actually approached me because they saw me, bring up this topic and how I'm going to talk about Bobby and do I think they're going to be back-to-back champs and whatnot. So I had this one person actually comment, how's Bobby Wagner going to replace a Von Miller? And I responded to him kind of in the same way you did. He's not going to be, in that Von Miller role. He's an inside linebacker. He's not an outside linebacker. That's not his role. That's not his job. But like you said, and the 49ers can attest, you guys have struggled, especially against some of those more physical teams, teams that like to run it up the gut and kind of just smash you in your mouth, hard-nosed football. I think Bobby Wagner, while he's definitely taken a step back, at least as it pertains to coverage and his athletic ability, his ability to kind of cover all the gaps and help you guys out in the run defense aspect, I think that's going to be tremendous. That's going to be huge. And we can't forget Leonard Floyd is still out there to provide extra pass rush. They're still going to be the draft, albeit with limited picks. But those, like you said, those guys are absolutely different players. But still, you need someone to replace that production. So although he's not the sack artist that Von Miller is, Von Miller had plenty of impact for you guys down the stretch. I don't remember how many sacks he had in the postseason run, but I do know that I think it led all players in the postseason. Am I correct?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. But I do know, I don't know if you do replace Von Miller's production, but the thing that bothers me when people say the Rams needed Von Miller, don't get me wrong, Von Miller was awesome in the playoffs, and I'm so glad he was, we made the trade for him. The Rams actually had a top 5 pass rush before we signed Von Miller. And so it's not that we don't have a pass rush, right? Von Miller was a luxury, player to have on your team, and the opportunity came to get him just before the trade deadline. The Rams are a team that are like, hey, let's take that opportunity. All right, here we go. And it definitely, we don't probably win the Super Bowl without Von Miller. I'm not gonna say that we didn't need him, but do I think next season, because we won't have Von Miller, we can't still have a productive pass rush? No, I think the Rams can still have a top 5 pass rush. You still have Aaron Donald, and it's proven time and time again, players that play around Aaron Donald elevate their game and they put up good numbers. Leonard Floyd, as you mentioned, he's still with the team. He's kind of been one of the more underrated linebackers the past couple of years, but he's been playing so solid for the Rams, and I'm glad the Rams paid him last offseason. The other one I want to bring up, definitely Ernest Jones, who he plays on the inside as well. He was a rookie 3rd-round pick for the Rams last year, and he made tons of plays, especially when we were playing the Buccaneers. He was all over the field that day in the playoffs. So, and I'm hoping Ernest Jones and Bobby Wagner just become best friends, and he can just learn from Bobby.
Hey, Payo, not only do guys around Aaron Donald perform better statistically, but they also tend to get paid off the field.
Yeah.
Because I remember Dante Fowler, his last year in LA, what was it, 10.5 sacks? I don't even know if he hit double digits. It might have been outside of the double digits. Who knows? But I do remember him getting paid. I think it was with the Falcons to the tune of, 4 years, $48 million. I could be way off, but that's just off the top of my head. And ever since then, I don't think he's had nearly as many sacks in 3 to 4 years as he did in his last year in LA. And so I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then Leonard Floyd, before coming to LA, I don't think he ever had a double-digit sack season. And now here he is putting up 10.5 sacks, 9 sacks. He's putting up top-tier sack production. And so, my gosh. I alluded to this at the beginning of the show, but Bobby Wagner in Seattle, he put up the most amount of tackles in his career last year with 170, right? And that was despite missing the last game of the season. But he also played without a pass rush. Our Seattle Seahawks were 22nd in the NFL in sacks. No sort of ball hawks in the secondary. We were 25th in takeaways. And for him to still do what he was doing in that advanced age in a scheme that probably wasn't using him correctly, I'm scared. I'm honestly scared to see him in LA, to be surrounded by such top-tier elite talent. I wouldn't be surprised if he cracks 200 tackles. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts himself squarely in that Defensive Player of the Year conversation. It's just, the byproduct of playing alongside such great players, which brings me to my next point. With 16 first-team All-Pros between Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and Bobby Wagner, is this the best big three in the entire NFL? And I'm talking both offense and defense, and if you want to, special teams as well.
Ooh, I love it. And I think it's a competition between You know, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and Bobby Wagner, and Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Allen Robinson. Yeah. But no, honestly, I'm stoked about it. You clearly, Jalen Ramsey is very active on social media. He's stoked about it. Aaron Donald not as active on social media, but you can tell he's pretty pumped. And I think the biggest thing as a fan that you appreciate about having, star players with this kind of accolades on it is the expectations just go up. And it is so fun to have a team that has expectations. It's not fun going into the season and being like, well, maybe we'll win 5 games or we'll make the playoffs. No, I want to do that. I want my team in the conversation for the Super Bowl every year. When I see power rankings that have the Bucks over the Rams, I feel disrespected because I'm like, come on, are you kidding me? We've beaten you the past 4 times. And I just when I see the talent on this Rams team, I think the expectations are warranted that it's Super Bowl or bust. Anything short of a Super Bowl win is considered a failed season with this amount of talent.
Zach, I gotta ask, where did you find a power ranking with the Bucks over the Rams?
I've seen it around all the ESPN hot take personalities and stuff like that. And as I've gotten into the YouTube community, less and less mainstream media I listen to. I really don't listen to them for breaking news, but there's people out there that still just because of Tom Brady.
Oh my gosh! Because I was just gonna say, wherever you saw that, whoever did that, I think they should be drug tested right now today. Because I did a power rankings on the Bolts the other day. Yeah, my girlfriend Squabbo said, and it was a consensus that the Rams were either the number 1 or the number 2 team entering the NFL offseason. We had a couple people actually put the Buccaneers outside of the top 5. And so to hear that the Buccaneers, and they lost to the Rams, like you mentioned, they're ahead, that makes no sense to me. That makes no sense to me. And you know me, I'm not going to give the flowers. I'm not going to give the Rams their flowers, but at least after this, that's just egregious to me. That makes no sense whatsoever. But great answer. Let me address some of the. So someone here in the comments said, "Why don't the Seahawks looking to sign a cap?" Okay, so at the end, I will have a little Q&A. I'll answer questions that don't pertain to this particular subject. But here's another question that does. Who do you think is better to have, Wagner or Miller?
That's such a good question, and I think it's one of those ones that I've been nervous to ask because I don't want to disrespect Vaughn, but I don't want to disrespect Wagner. And so the political answer is, they both have different skill sets and they both give, something special to this defense. I'll give the hot take here. I think for this year, after losing out on Vaughn, if we could have gotten Vaughn for a price that worked for our cap situation, I think you had a good thing going there. It probably would have been better to have Vaughn. However, Bobby Wagner is no consolation prize. I can't stress that enough, that he will change our defense for the better. And so I think if you were trying to replicate the pass rush that you had last year during the playoffs for the Rams, Vaughn's the better way to go. However, miss out on Vaughn. Okay, let's pivot, and we're gonna, that's what you do in the offseason. You build your roster, and if you have a chance to add Bobby Wagner to your roster, you do it.
1,000%. And I know you brought this up earlier, but I do remember prior to you guys trading for Von Miller, like you said, you guys were actually number 1 in the NFL in sacks at that point in time. And I think you guys were at the top with 27 sacks prior to trading for Von Miller. And so when you guys traded for Von Miller, I was just like, did these guys even need more pass rush? I don't think they need more pass rush. And so, like you were talking about, for you guys to already field such a competent pass rush without a Von Miller, and now you bring in a Bobby Wagner. People don't talk about this a lot, but Bobby Wagner actually, and according to Pro Football Focus, since 2016 has been the best inside linebacker on blitzes. And I don't have an exact statistic to show for that. For those of you guys, if you read Pro Football Focus, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, and so while he isn't the pass rusher that Von Miller is, he's not a pure pass rusher, at least in those blitz packages and some of those exotic packages defensively. where you disguise certain things, Bobby Wagner can most definitely get after the quarterback. I mean, we saw that in Seattle time and time again. And so I'd have to agree with you, though. I'd say that if Von Miller, just because in today's NFL, a pass rusher, a guy that could get after the quarterback, that's a more valuable position. That's a more premium position. Those guys do get paid more. And in Seattle, for as great as he was, Bobby Wagner just by himself was never really able to elevate, the team, at least defensively around him. And I know it hurts not to have a pass rush, but at the end of the day, a middle linebacker can only have so much impact.
Yeah.
But Payo, like I said, I do have a Seahawks fan. I do want to bring on board. I kind of want to get a Seahawks fan perspective on the whole Bobby Wagner to LA. And so, why wait any further? For my second VIG of the day, to the audience out there, please welcome with open arms, Mr. Zuko Samba.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How you doing today, Zuko?
Pretty good.
Hey, Zuko, nice to meet you.
Okay, so this is my guy Payo. If you haven't been tuned in, Zach, aka Payo Time, and then Payo. This is my guy Zuko.
Hey, nice to meet you. Yeah.
Likewise.
All right.
Okay.
So, Zuko, I gotta ask. Like I said, right from the Seahawks fan perspective, are you mad at Bobby Wagner for staying in the NFC West and choosing the Rams?
Nah. I wasn't mad when Sherman went to the Niners, and I'm not mad when that Bobby went to the Rams. Just if I was Bobby. He's from California. He gets to play for a Super Bowl contender and gets to play with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. Like, what else? And he got cut. Like, I'm not mad at him at all. Like, I would do that if I was him.
Okay, so would you – now, I don't know if I would do this, but would you rock a Bobby Wagner Rams jersey?
No. I'll root for Bobby Wagner, but – the Rams, no, they can go somewhere else, but yeah.
Okay, and this is a little off topic, but Payo, I gotta ask you, bro. So when Russell Wilson, I know this is old news by now, but when Russell Wilson was traded, what were your immediate thoughts?
So, for years I've said Russell Wilson is like, as a player, I love watching, like as a football fan, I love watching Russell Wilson. He's such a phenomenal player, phenomenal talent, but I could never cheer for him because he played for the Seahawks, right? And so like I remember when the Seahawks and Patriots played in the Super Bowl, that was just like torture for me because like, it's like, oh man, the team that like beat us like in the Super Bowl back in 2001, then like eventually in 2018 again, but that was before that. But then the Seahawks, you're like, oh man, this is crazy. But yeah, like seeing him get traded, I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people that was like, oh, like Russell Wilson's gonna figure it out with Pete Carroll. Like the Seahawks, they don't have the guts to trade him. Like Pete Carroll's 70. Like I bought that narrative of like Pete's 70. There's no way he's gonna start over with a new quarterback. But to my surprise, it happened. And as a Rams fan, I'm happy because like I'm fine cheering for Russell Wilson in a Broncos jersey.
I was just gonna say the reason why I brought that up was because I'm still rocking my Russell Wilson Broncos jersey. And matter of fact, I'm gonna get an orange one just so I look vibrant and colorful. And then I'm still a Russell Wilson fan. I know there are a lot of Seattle fans out there kind of hating on Russ. Zuko, I know this is old news, but how do you feel about Russ now? And do you feel any sort of hatred towards Russell Wilson?
No, not really.
That's a good answer.
It was like it was, I think, time between like him and the front office. Like this needed to go their separate ways, and I don't like hate him at all. I'll root for him, but I don't want the Broncos to win the Super Bowl. But I'll root for him always.
Great answer, Zuko. I mean, ain't no room for any sort of hate in this world. So I'm glad that you're taking that side. And Payo, I do have a question towards you or directed for you in the chat. So Matty Ice, my good friend, is asking, do you think the Rams re-signed Odell Beckham Jr.?
Yeah, great question, Matty Ice. Thanks for that. I'm optimistic they're going to. I think it'll be a later signing. I think that there's still question marks in regards to Odell's recovery from his unfortunate injury in the Super Bowl. But ultimately, Odell has said like he's wanted to re-sign with the Rams. He's willing to take less money to stay here. Odell loves LA, and I can tell he loves LA's culture. And I think, like, off the field, Odell can make a ton of money by being in LA. So I think, the Rams have that going for them. But I also think that, we've heard from Les Snead and Sean McVay that they'd like to bring Odell back. And it's just a matter of when that happens. I personally would be shocked if he went to another team. I know, like, people, I've had other fans call me like, "Oh, you're just a delusional Rams fan. They can't re-sign everybody." But I really think we find a way to make it work. And again, the injury complicates things with Odell, but you haven't heard him really flirting with other teams. Just there's been like fake spin narratives that he'll go back to Cleveland or something, which I don't see happening.
So Payo, I gotta ask though. I don't know if you saw, if you pay attention or follow him on Twitter, but when Matt Ryan was traded to the Colts, he was actually raving about Matt Ryan and the Colts. They do have a need at wide receiver, and with you guys bringing in Allen Robinson, is there really a need for an Odell Beckham Jr. re-signing? Do you see maybe the Colts, the Packers, the Chiefs? Do you see those teams as potential destinations if he doesn't re-sign with the Rams?
So I'm a personal believer that because of the landscape of the NFL and just the lack of like top tier talent at the cornerback position, you can never have as many elite wide receivers. You always need as many elite wide receivers as possible. And I don't know if we need him, but I definitely want him. And I think that the Rams want him. And I think that if you can have 4 wide receivers that, gives defenses headaches, they lose sleep because they have to play the Rams wide receiving core. Why not?
1,000%. And Zuko, before you answer the question, I just wanted to point out, I don't remember who I got this from, but I remember hearing from someone that they remember hearing from Les Snead a couple of years ago. And they asked him, why is it that he takes wide receivers in the draft each and every single year, despite being stacked at the position? And I remember, and this isn't verbatim, but his answer was along the lines of, there's an abundance of wide receiver talent in the league. There's more and more wide receivers coming into the league, providing an impact, and there's less and less impact corners. And so Les was talking about, if you stack up the wide receiver room and if you have more receivers than quality corners that other teams can bring to the table, more likely than not only are you going to field an explosive offense, but you're going to field an offense so explosive that teams can't keep up with you. Yeah. And so, with you guys potentially bringing back an Odell Beckham Jr., not only does it make your guys' offense that much more lethal, but the LA Rams don't have a whole lot of fans in LA. And so I think he'll actually sell more tickets in that area because he himself has a whole bunch of fans. I mean, if you look at his Twitter, his Instagram followers and fan bases, I mean, my gosh. And so that's kind of where I stand on there. Obviously, as the Seahawks guy, I don't want to see him re-sign, but if he does re-sign with the Rams, I think that only speaks volumes about your guys' organization. It's very well run. And so, yeah, I don't know why I'm giving you guys more flowers, but here I am doing it. But Zuko, what do you think, bro? From the Seahawks fan perspective, where do you want to see Odell land, and do you think he lands back in LA?
I do think he lands back in LA, but I would prefer he goes somewhere else, like to the Chiefs or to the Packers.
Right.
But I think with the injury and like the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and
1,000%.
he gets to play for like he was with the Browns, who was like they just didn't mix very good, and like he's in a perfect situation now, and he can heal on his injury because they have Allen Robinson, and he can take his time. Yeah, I think that would be the best match for him, but I would prefer he go somewhere else.
As do I. And so K-Rub here in the chat, I'm not sure what team is referring to. So he might be talking to you, Payo, or he might be talking to us. K-Rub, if you could verify or clarify, he's asking a lot of big name free agents, he or she, sorry, I don't know if that's he or she, but a lot of big name free agents still available. Do you think we'll sign any of them? So once you clarify that, we'll be more than glad to get to that question. Here's another question from Jaws, though. Think Flash Gordon has any juice left to help the Chiefs? Hawks got the last good look at him. I know this doesn't really relate to any of our teams, but Payo, did you want to answer that in any way?
I think that like the Chiefs are a team that, especially on the offensive side of the ball, any player they sign, they probably are going to use pretty well. But yeah, with Tyreek Hill, departing, there's a lot of production to replace there.
100%. So he definitely has an opportunity. Zuko, any thoughts?
I think he'll make like a couple like flashy plays. Like remember when he was with the Seahawks, that game against the 49ers, he had like those couple slant catches and like one deep ball. So I think as long as he's not like 1, 2, or 3 on the receiver chart, he'll do good.
Okay, great answer. What's it called here? And we're gonna answer one more question from the comments, and then we'll get back into some of the topics. But thoughts on the Patriots trading for that Dolphins wide receiver from Not Chief? I didn't care if y'all answered that question. I was gone for a bit. So Not Chief, nah, we have not actually addressed that yet. Payo, you're shaking your head. What say you?
This trade ticks me off. It's so much because the Rams traded Robert Woods, who is the same age as Devontae Parker and has a much better injury history than Devontae Parker. Yes, like Robert Woods has just, he just tore his ACL, but Devontae Parker has been nagging injuries like so much throughout his career. And we only got a 6th-round pick for Robert Woods, and I cannot believe they got a 3rd-round pick from him, trading him to a team in their own division. And the other thing, like from a Dolphins fan perspective, you were going to have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Devontae Parker. Like that would have been awesome to watch. Like as an offense, as a football fan, I got excited to watch that. But no, I'm ticked that the Dolphins got that for him. I also think it was a bad trade for the Dolphins.
Zuko, before you go, Payo, I had to echo all of your sentiments. I mean, not only is an intra-division trade counterintuitive, but the Dolphins are giving up a 5th-round pick on top of the Devontae Parker. And we've seen the highest of highs. I understand he's injury prone. I understand in 7 years he's only played 1 full season. But in that year, he was 5th in the NFL receiving, 1,202 yards receiving. He was 4th in touchdowns with 9. And he averaged nearly 17 yards a catch. And that was with the Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's arguably the best quarterback he's ever played with. And so for Miami to kind of give up on him, the way that I look at it is maybe they just lost faith in him. Maybe a Devontae wasn't satisfied, playing third fiddle to Tyreek and a Jalen Waddle. But to me, that's very puzzling. In division trade, I heard the Eagles were interested. And when you trade future picks, those picks aren't nearly worth as much as they might indicate. So a 3rd-round pick next year is equivalent in value to a 4th-round pick this year. And so you essentially traded Devontae Parker and a 5th-round pick this year for a 4th-round pick. And not only that, you gave up a 1st, a 4th, and a 6th this year to trade for a Tyreek Hill. Now you're trading a 5th this year, so they have a 2nd and a 7th, and that's it? Now, I could be wrong. If there's any Dolphins fans in the chat, please correct me. But as it stands right now, the Dolphins are working with 2 to 3 picks in this year's draft. I don't know if that's a sign of Mike McDaniel maybe hating on this year's draft, but I don't know what's going down over there. Zuko, did you have anything you wanted to add?
So I pulled up like an article on the Devontae Parker trade, and I see that what's their new coach's name? The guy
Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, so he likes receivers who can run after the ball, and it says and Devontae Parker, he's like a big body possession receiver, so that might have been one of the reasons why they might have traded him. And for the Patriots, I like it because now he's the best receiver because they haven't had a good receiver in a while, and their other receivers are like Nelson Aguilar and N'Keal Harry. So I think it's good for both sides. Yeah.
1,000%. And one more thing I want to add before we go back to the original list of topics. The Patriots, this is very on brand, right? I mean, they're always known for making these under the radar signings, trades, and they're always known as that one team that seems to resurrect or revive careers. And so for them to get a Devontae Parker in the division, I think is an absolute steal, an absolute coup. And Zuko, like you were saying, N'Keal Harry, Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, they're okay, but that team is still in need of a bona fide number one. And when healthy, which is, I understand, a huge caveat, but when healthy, I think Devontae Parker is that guy.
He just had a 1,000-yard season in 2019. So, yeah.
Yes, sir. Okay, well, we spent a lot of time in the comments. I know I talked about addressing those questions at the
Well,
end,
they're
but
great questions.
right, very heavy and loaded. But now to transition back into this. So, Payo, this is for you. Despite bringing back all 22 starters from its Super Bowl winning team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were unable to defend its title. Will the Rams suffer the same fate, or are they poised to repeat?
Yeah, every season is its new adventure, right? And there's a new story to be told. And this season the Rams get to try and tell the story to repeat as Super Bowl champions. Do I think they can do it? Yes. My reasons why: we have a talented team, and the NFC is talent deprived, which is something that I would argue the Buccaneers didn't have to the same extent in their title defense season last year. I also think that the Rams, just like in terms of like being ready to win in the playoffs, I just think our defense is kind of next level, where the Bucks they're not the same team they were in their Super Bowl run, and the Rams, we're a different team too. We've lost starters. We're not, though we don't have the same 22 starters, we have our core group of players that are really good, really talented, and that are going to show up on Sunday. Where I think the Bucks team, they had some injuries last year that kind of knocked that 22 starters down. I do think the Godwin injury really hurt them a lot last year for sure. But will the Rams suffer the same fate? Only time will tell. I for sure hope not. But I do think they are poised to repeat, just because of the competition in the NFC, but also just I think that the Rams still have their all-in approach, and they're not content with just one Super Bowl. They're a very self-aware organization. They know what they have right now as an opportunity, and they're going for it.
Which is the same sort of mindset that I wish a John Schneider, would kind of exhibit. Now I know he's, the complete opposite of aggressive. He's more conservative, and he does come from that Green Bay Packers front office structure where they prefer to build through draft picks. They don't want to sacrifice draft picks. They don't want to restructure contracts and kick the can down the road. But I think what you guys are doing the right thing. You guys understand that this Super Bowl window isn't going to be open forever. And so while it is, and while you guys do have the flexibility, you're kicking the can all the way down the road. But if that results in a Super Bowl victory or 2 or 3, or a Super Bowl victory and then multiple Super Bowl appearances, I think they would have paid off. Zuko, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you gotta go all in when it's your when the window is open, and the Rams, like, they have a really good opportunity to go back to the Super Bowl, and it's gonna be hard with, like, you gotta have some like injury luck, and there's always gonna be one or two teams that break out in each conferences. So I think the last team to go back to back was the 03-04 Patriots, and just from my memory alone, like the Seahawks and the Chiefs are like the last team to go back to the Super Bowl, but they lost. So yeah.
Bad memories there. What's it called? So Payo, this is for you. But like I have down there at the bottom, I don't know if you're able to read it, but in addition to bringing on a Bobby Wagner, your Rams also brought in wide receiver Allen Robinson to a 3-year, $46.5 million deal. Talk about the rich getting richer. But now with the Matthew Stafford as his quarterback, he's easily the best quarterback he's ever played with. What are your expectations for Allen Robinson statistically with the Stafford throwing him the rock?
Oh man, I am so excited to see what Allen Robinson does, because he's a player I've cheered for. I've often drafted him in fantasy, hoping one of his quarterbacks that he plays with can connect with him, and I'm honestly, I don't know, I'm optimistic that he's going to be more of a red zone threat with the Rams, just because he is kind of your climb the ladder, go up and get that jump ball kind of receiver. That the Rams, we've mainly used our tight end Tyler Higbee to do that kind of dirty work, but I'm excited to see Allen Robinson with the Rams offense. I think he brings, once again, a different skill set that the Rams don't really or haven't had for a couple of years. So yeah, excited to see it. Optimistic he can definitely, have a productive season. and the nice thing about the Rams offense and this McVay scheme is it is very much a zone run scheme, but it is pretty pass heavy. And I think we ran out of the gun more than any other team this season. And when you watch it, like, if you watch it in my watch parties, I always get nervous when Stafford's under the gun and no backfield, because that's normally when he throws an interception. But when he's in the gun and he's got a back beside him, he gets to use play action. It's a very productive, very receiver-friendly offense.
And not only that, if I'm not mistaken, you guys actually have been leading the league for the last couple of years now in the amount of times that you guys bring out 3 wide receivers on the field, correct? Mm-hmm. And so with him now being the number 2 to Cooper Kupp, a lot of teams are going to be double teaming Cooper Kupp. And as of right now, as it stands, OBJ still has not re-signed. Obviously, Robert Woods is in Tennessee. And so I think Al Robinson is going to eat. A lot of people are attributing, last year's down year. And I could attest, because I had him in one of my fantasy teams. And oh my gosh, he was horrific. Not exactly entirely his fault, though. But a lot of people were attributing, last year's down year to him kind of falling off or him getting older and whatnot. But I think what it really is, because I watched a couple of Bears games, because I wanted to figure out, like, what is going on here. I think they literally just avoided throwing him the football. Like, his targets and everything was just down across the board. Yeah, he had injuries that he was dealing with, but I think with the Matthew Stafford throwing him the rock, with the Cooper Kupp taking attention away, with the Sean McVay designing plays and the way he does it with the Cam Akers to kind of provide that threat at the running back position, I wouldn't be surprised if he puts up a career year. And so to all the fantasy football people out there, I don't know where Allen Robinson is going, but I think he's going to be a terrific value, and that's definitely a name that I'm looking out for. Now, Zuko, I'm not going to ask you, Allen Robinson's statistical projection, but I do want to ask you, what was your initial reaction as a Seahawks fan when you heard that Allen Robinson was going to sign with the Rams?
I just thought he was just going to be just same as Robert Woods, like similar production. So I was a little surprised, and I think his career will resurge, because him and the Bears last season, they just didn't. It was just one of those years where you can just toss it out the window. And he's playing now for Sean McVay, and this is his best quarterback by far. Like, here are his quarterbacks he has had: Blake Bortles, Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles, and Justin Fields. So, and he doesn't have to be the number 1 wide receiver anymore, because Cooper Kupp takes away all the attention. So I think he's going to have a really big year this season.
Hey, 100%. We're riding the same train. We are nearing the end of the show. And so before we get to some of the questions that you guys have put out in the comments, I will get to those, I promise. Payo, I got to ask. You guys did bring in Bobby Wagner. You guys did bring in and Al Robinson. But you guys also lost Von Miller, Andrew Whitworth, Robert Woods, Darius Williams, Johnny Hecker, one of the game's better punters, Sebastian Joseph Day, very underrated in the interior of that defensive line, Austin Corbett, depth on the offensive line. I don't know if I'm forgetting anyone else, but out of all your guys' losses this offseason, which departure will sting the most?
Robert Woods. People give a lot of credit to McVay for turning this team around, and rightfully so. But the two free agents that McVay brought in the first year that he was the coach here were Andrew Whitworth and Robert Woods. Andrew Whitworth retiring, I'm so happy for him, and it doesn't sting seeing him go off winning the Super Bowl, getting to play in the Super Bowl as the Walter Payton Man of the Year. Like, I wouldn't write his career any other way. Like, just, I love that he got to do that. And I'm also really happy that Tom Brady came out of retirement for the sole reason, when it's in 5 years, when Andrew Whitworth is in the Hall of Fame, he will be the biggest star that year. So Andrew Whitworth was tough to see, but Robert Woods hurt the most. Just he's mentored Cooper Kupp. He's best friends with Cooper Kupp. Like, it was so heartbreaking to see. I had a live stream just sort of mourning the loss of Cooper Kupp, where we just played depressing music, and it was just me and Rams fans, like, just being sad together.
Oh my! Hey, Payo, I'd have to agree. I know my word probably doesn't mean nearly as much as yours, but Robert Woods has long been one of most underrated receivers in all of football. I think he's actually a top 5 player at his position as it pertains to run blocking. You know, a lot of people don't pay attention to run blocking when it comes to wide receivers because that's not necessarily their number one role. But every time I saw Robert Woods out there on the field, he was out there blocking like he was an offensive lineman. You know, the energy and the passion that he would put and display in those blocks. Not only that, he was a leader. I think he was a captain in his last, I don't know how many years with the Rams, but man, to only get a 6th-round pick in return, I understand he's coming off a torn ACL, but my gosh, a 6th-round pick? How disrespectful.
It's so frustrating.
Oh, man. Okay. And then Zuko, did you want to touch on that a little bit? Do you
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So in looking at some of the losses that the Rams have suffered this offseason, what do you think is going to hurt them the most? Or who do you think is going to hurt them the most?
I think that Robert Woods' production can be replaced by Allen Robinson, but they'll miss him like in the locker room and with the leadership and that kind of stuff. But I think the Von Miller production, especially in the playoffs, will hurt them just a little bit. But I think there will be other guys that will step up, like Leonard Floyd and other guys. Like someone new will show up because they're playing with Aaron Donald and their numbers will go through the roof.
No doubt about that. I mean, we were just raving about Al Robinson, so I don't know if he's anywhere near the run blocker that Robert Woods is, but at least statistically, I think he'll more than make up for what Robert Woods is doing out there in LA. We did get confirmation though from K-Rub, and they did say that they're referring to the Seahawks. But Payo, before you go, I do want to ask though, and let's go back to their question. A lot of big name free agents still available. Are you guys gonna have any sort of money left to kind of squeeze out to sign anyone else?
I'm seeing a lot of hype around the Rams signing Stephon Gilmore. I don't know how we pull that off, but then again, Les Snead is a magician. So that'd be cool in terms of big names that are left. Otherwise, I'm honestly pretty content going into the draft. I am hoping that the Rams draft San Diego State punter Matt Ariza. But if we don't get him, there are some big name punters out there that we're going to need to sign one of them.
All right. And then there's actually one more question for you, Payo, in the comments from my guy, Now Chief. He's asking, what was your reaction to the 1-yard line INT in the Super Bowl where my Hawks lost? Man.
Okay. Quick story here, Steezy. So that particular year, I went to a Super Bowl party, and where I live in Canada, you get fans of all different teams, stuff like that. And I was at a party where there was literally like mostly all Patriots fans, and they're just be like, it's weird, like close friends of mine, but then when the Patriots are playing, they just turn into like jerks, and I don't get it. So there was a part of me that was like, do I cheer for the Seahawks? I don't know. I wouldn't say I was actively cheering for the Seahawks, but I was definitely like, out of the two teams, I probably wanted the Seahawks to win just because I really do like Russell Wilson as like a human being and as a player. And I'm fed up with the Patriots winning. Like I've been on record multiple times on the internet saying I'd be okay if the Patriots went 0 whatever for the rest of my life. Like if they lost every game forever, they turned into like the Detroit Lions or the Browns, okay with me.
Wow. I was in the same dilemma when it was the Rams and the Patriots in 2018. I was just like, who do I root for? Like, I hate the Patriots. I don't like Tom Brady, but then again, the Rams are our arch nemesis. And so I don't remember who I ended up rooting for, but I do remember betting on the Patriots. And I do remember winning some money. So I was definitely a happy man by the end of
Jared Goff missing Brandon Cooks.
Right. And to think that they were only able to score 3 points.
It ticks me now.
Oh, man.
But
I mean,
I'm over it because we won the Super Bowl this year. So
right. And that's the thing with the past. So let's just keep it, right? Looks like we have another question for Payo. 1999-2000 Super Bowl winning Rams versus the 2021-2022 Super Bowl winning Rams. Who wins?
It's crazy. I saw this exact question on Rams Twitter earlier this week, and that is tough. Like that. Those are some really good teams. I honestly think that the 99 Rams would do it just because that team was literally like Madden in real life, right? Just, and Marshall Faulk being the biggest difference maker there, but it'd be a good game. It would be a good game, but I'd give a slight edge to the 99 Rams. I also think their defense that year was maybe a little more physical.
All right. And probably the last question for you, Payo, before we let you go. How do you think the Rams defense is going to be, Wags? I think we kind of touched on that, but
honestly, Deadly King Lion, I appreciate the question. I also appreciate your profile pic. That is epic.
That's nice.
That is, I love lions. I really think the Rams are going to use B-Wags well. I'm hoping he is our signal caller, because we've actually had a couple of different people wear that green dot, and so I'm guessing it's either going to be our safety Jordan Fuller or Bobby Wagner, which I would love Bobby Wagner to take over that from the linebacker position, because we tried to get Troy Reeder to wear the green dot once Jordan Fuller was injured and out, but he didn't do it. And so like in the Super Bowl, we actually had Eric Weddle calling the defensive plays. So I would love Wagner to become our defensive signal caller.
1,000%. Man, Duke just lost. I was rooting for Duke, but oh man. So sorry, I didn't mean to kind of shift away from what you were talking about. But that was a heartbreaker. Oh man. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I'm not gonna go yet, and Zuko, you can stick around. I'm actually gonna bring one more guy on board, but I do want to respect Payo's time. He is 3 hours ahead, and it's past 11 over there in Canada. But Payo, brother, thank you so much for taking the time to hop on. Before you do go, though, please plug yourself. Tell the fans out there, tell all the people out there where to follow you, where to find you, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, CZ, thanks so much for having me on, and Zuko, it's great to meet you. And honestly, I love talking football with anyone, regardless of what team that you cheer for. I will gladly celebrate your football fandom with you, and respect your fandom on that note as well. You can find me on YouTube. Literally, if you put Payo Time, like this word right here in the YouTube search, I'm the first one that comes up, and I talk mostly about the Rams and other NFL content. I love talking football. I love hearing opinions that are unlike my own. I try to reply to almost all the comments on my videos, so I do what I can that way. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. And I'm honestly, I love having fun. I post really random polls. I post a lot of NFL content. I just I want to laugh through life. So if you want to make me a minor character in your YouTube story, feel free to hit that subscribe at Payo Time.
Beautifully said. And like I said, down below, you guys will find the link to his YouTube channel in the description of this video. So please add Payo Time on YouTube, add Payo Time on Twitter. And I don't know if your Instagram is open like that, but at Payo Time on Instagram, please show my guy some love. This has to be one of the coolest Rams fans you'll ever meet. And I'm vouching for him. So I hope you guys believe me when I say that. Payo, again, thank you so much for taking the time to hop on, bro. We are going to continue this for another 5 to 10 minutes to answer some questions. But Payo, I hope you have a great night. Until next time.
Awesome. Good night, everybody.
You too.
Take care, Payo. All right. Zuko. We have a couple of comments that I do want to address. But before we do that, I do want to bring on a guest on board. He's been waiting to hop on. So to everybody out there, if you've been tuning into NorbCam's Roundtable, you might be familiar with my guy. But please welcome Tyler Parcher to the stream. You're muted, Tyler.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. How you doing, Tyler?
Good.
Good. How's your day today?
Going good. Getting ready for that opener coming up.
Yes, sir. That is coming up. We were talking about that earlier today. But like I said, I do want to address some of the comments. So thanks for joining me, Tyler, and Zuko. Thanks for being patient. Yep. So at the Deadly Lion, he said this earlier, but he said, "You're the greatest, Steezy. All the respect to you. Go Hawks." Hey, I appreciate the love, bro. You'll be on the show as well. I know he kind of talked to me about hopping on the show. You will most definitely be on the show. And to everyone out there tuned in, if you want to hop on a future show, hey, don't be afraid to ask. Send me a DM. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. Just shoot me a DM. Letting me know that you want to hop on. And I'll be more than glad to have you guys on board. Now, no one in the comments is saying, keeping in mind DK Metcalf's production on the field and the amount of talented wide receivers that come into the league every year, should the Seahawks give DK a big contract to keep him? I understand that. And to no one, I'm not saying you're a no one, but that's your name on YouTube. No one, if you're still tuned in, I actually did drop an episode just the other day about why the Seahawks would be foolish to trade a DK Metcalf. And, I'll just say, tune into that video and you'll hear my answer. Zuko, did you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so I'm for keeping him in the Seahawks. I don't want to trade him at all. He's the kind of guy you like. That's the kind of player you want. And the Seahawks, like, they won't have to pay a quarterback for the next couple of years. So might as well give him the money, and he's still pretty young. And yeah, I just think it would be this terrible move to just give him away.
Bro, he's just a year older than us. He's 24 years old. And so, to me, the way that I look at it, it doesn't matter what direction a franchise is going in, whether you're rebuilding, whether you're reloading, whether you're a Super Bowl contender. You got to keep your foundational pieces around. And Seattle, we're very thin, on star power. And so we're not paying anyone else. Why not give them the bag? That's where I stand. But for more analysis and for more of a breakdown, definitely be sure to check out my last Seahawks episode, why the Seahawks would be foolish not to trade. Why the Seahawks will be foolish to trade a DK Metcalf. Tyler, did you want to touch on that? Do you think we should keep DK, or do you think we should trade him?
Keep him. I like him.
Keep him? There you go. Hey, there you go. I love that answer. Okay, and then Jaws in the comments. Yeah.
Sorry. Norb was supposed to stream, but he didn't. He was supposed to stream from Ocean Shores.
Oh, he didn't end up actually streaming.
Yeah, he was out of town with his buddies. He had a big gaming thing he had to go do.
Right. Yeah, that's actually what he told me when I was on his stream the other day.
I was there too, actually.
You were? Yes, you were.
Yeah.
And okay, so Jaws in the comments is saying if Baker and Jimmy G both get cut loose, better fit for the Seahawks, and could they get either here or over in Carolina and Pittsburgh? I think for me, I already dropped an episode on that as well, so I don't want to touch on it too much. Definitely tune into that video. But I did drop an episode before that DK one talking about why the Seahawks would be wise to stay away from a Baker Mayfield. And so, but if Cleveland were willing to attach either draft capital, if they're willing to pay more of his salary, then I'm all for it. But because I don't think that that's going to be the case anytime soon, I'd stay away from them. Zuko, Tyler?
Yeah, stay away.
Yeah, I don't. Unless, I think his contract is only 1 year, like the 2022-2023 season. So I don't want to give up any picks for him. And I think, if I want to see Baker in Pittsburgh. I think that would be fun. But I don't want Baker or Jimmy G. I want some new fresh face on the Seahawks quarterback.
100%. Tyler?
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I don't think Jimmy G is very feasible just because I don't think San Fran would pull a Miami and trade Jimmy G within the division. I'd prefer to see Jimmy G actually in Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh will be a wonderful fit. I think Baker Mayfield, his options are dwindling. Right now, I couldn't even give you a team, but Seattle, it only feels the right price. That's what I will say about Baker to Seattle. The Deadly King line, Steezy, DK versus Tyreek in a race. Oh, DK versus Tyreek in a race. That'd be a very close one. Honestly, I think Tyreek would win, but just by a hair because DK is that fast. Did you guys want to touch on that? Who do you guys think will win?
I say Tyreek in a 40-yard dash, but after seeing DK chase, who was that? The Cardinals DB when they picked it, and he ran all the way down and tackled him. You guys remember?
Yeah.
So maybe longer,
a
full football field. DK 40-yard, Tyreek.
Good answer, Tyler.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All
right, so
don't have anything.
No, you're good, Tyler. All good. And so there are a couple more questions that we'll get to the audience out there still tuned in, and we will wrap this up within the next 5 minutes. I do want to get to all your guys' questions though, so forgive me if we're kind of going through these a little fast. But the Deadly King line. Do you think the Seahawks could have a better season than everyone is saying? Before I answer that, though, he did also say my name. It is Mohammed Zaid. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong. Is it Zaid? But Mohammed Zaid, thank you so much for tuning in, bro. You've been showing a lot of love and support, so I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Going back to your question, do you think the Seahawks could have a better season than everyone is saying? 1,000%. I think we're going to be one of those teams that is going to be very feisty. We're going to be persistent. We're going to be one of those teams that we're not going to have the most talent, right? Obviously, and especially at quarterback, but we're going to be one of those feisty teams that no one wants to play. We're going to be one of those teams that kind of doesn't really win by talent, but we win because we're just that team, and we're well coached, and everyone is kind of looking down on us. There aren't any expectations, but you also look at the state of the NFC. Like I mentioned earlier in the stream, there just really isn't that much competition in the NFC outside of the Buccaneers, outside of the Rams. All the other teams are kind of bunched together, I feel like, in the same sort of tier. And so, yeah, I think Seattle could very well finish with maybe an identical 7-10 record from last year, maybe 6 and what is it, 11. But I definitely don't see Seattle having a 4-win season or a 3-win season. I think the potential is definitely at 5, 6, 7 with a high of 8 or 9.
Yeah, I think with Pete Carroll as a coach, like there's no way we only win 4 games. I think probably like 6, 7, or a little more than that. And I think this upcoming year, as long as we are like really good in the trenches, like O-line or D-line, I think we'll have a better season than what all the people, especially outside the Seahawks fans, who think we'll go like 2-15 or something like that. So I say around 6, 7, 8 wins, but they'll probably surprise me with something. Yeah.
1,000%. Okay, Tyler, how many wins do you think Seattle gets next year?
We're gonna win them all, I hope.
Hey, great answer. Great answer. And Muhammad is asking, what do you think of the return of a Justin Coleman? Not to deprive you of your question, but I'm actually gonna have a free agency, either a live stream or an episode on my channel, and I will be touching on a Justin Coleman. So stay tuned for that. Matty Ice is asking, what do you guys think we're doing with the 9th pick? Man, I'm praying Sauce falls. And Not Chief is saying Sauce ain't falling to us, but maybe Stingley Jr., that one corner from LSU. Plus, Sauce might be a little overrated. Wow, I've never heard anyone say that. Sauce's picks were all tipped, doesn't play in the SEC. I'm worried about tackling. He gambles a lot. Wow.
You should do like a NFL draft live stream, like where we can all join.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. I'd love to have a horde of people come in and out.
Like Lord does.
Yeah, no, I've been meaning to do that. I've needed like enough guests to kind of, to handle such a thing. We have a Joseph here saying, yeah, 7-10 sounds about right. Jaws, both of them might be cut to save cap. If that's the case, if Baker and the Jimmy are cut, then if the money is right, then I wouldn't mind bringing them on board. But going back to Matty Ice's question, look, for me, I don't know. I don't think he falls to us at number 9, but a Kayvon Thibodeau. I think for me, he'd be number 1 on my board. I love Sauce Gardner. I understand competition might be a problem. I understand, he might not be the best tackler in the world, but I mean, my gosh, you can't teach 6'3" at cornerback. You can't teach those 33 and a half inch arms. You can't teach just his ability in both man and zone. I think Sauce Gardner will be number 2 on my board. I think a Charles Cross or Ikem Okongwu, Evan Neal, if any of those tackles fall to 9, I think they'd be high on my board. If Sauce isn't on the board, I'd like a Derek Stingley. If we trade back and Malik Willis is still there in the mid to late teens, I would love to take a Malik Willis. I think Philadelphia would be a prime trade partner. But like Tyler did allude to, I will be having an NFL draft live stream, man. So some of these questions that kind of, ask about different topics, I'm sorry. Again, I'm not trying to deprive you guys of any of these questions, but I will be dropping different live streams, different episodes, and different videos on my channel to address each and every single one of those points. Let me see. Song Color Code is asking, if you guys had to pick a team to come out of the AFC for next season, who would it be? Zuko, we'll start with you.
I say right now it's the Chiefs and the Bills for me. Chargers, I think they'll be in the playoffs, but I pick the Bills. I just think it's the right time. Last 2 seasons, they've been really close, and I think this year they'll finally get off the hump and get to a Super Bowl and win it. Yeah.
All right. Nice pick. Tyler, you have a pick in the AFC?
I'm going with the same thing with him, probably, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I think for me, if I had to answer that question out of the AFC, I'm not going to elaborate because, again, I am going to drop a video on this, but the Denver Broncos.
Oh, because Wilson's there.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's one of the reasons. And then Not Chief is saying, "Hey, bro, I'm just saying what a scouting report said by other Seahawks fan." I apologize, bro. I didn't see that in your initial response. So that's actually what I meant to say. I was just kind of reiterating what you said, which actually came from a Seahawks fan. So I apologize for that. Let me see. What? Really? Denver? Hey, I know I will have a couple of people mad at me. It's totally understandable, but yes. I wouldn't bet on it. Now I'm not saying that, I would put money on them today to represent the AFC, but they're just definitely a team that I'll be rooting for in the AFC. But I think that's going to be it for the comments, you guys. We have been live for about an hour and 20 minutes. I do want to give you guys a chance to kind of shout yourselves out, plug yourself. Zuko, we'll start with you. Where can the people find you?
Just follow me on Twitter. You see on the screen at Zuko Samba. I'll be posting there a lot, and in the future, I'll probably be on YouTube in the summer. But for now, just Twitter is fine.
All right. And then Tyler?
I'm just here with like Norm and stuff.
All right.
That's all.
Okay, no doubt. And my guy Alex Stewart, bro. Ooh, you just missed the stream, bro. We are actually about to sign off in just a second. But Alex Stewart, my guy, if you're still tuned in, bro, thank you so much for catching us. I definitely need to get you back on the stream, actually. And so thank you so much for taking the time to tune in, bro. You definitely got to rewind back once you have a second to kind of tune in, watch the conversation. I thought we had a great talk. Not Chief is saying, again, as a Hawks fan, we need Denver to do trash. Yes, but I think realistically, you look at how good Denver is, you look at that roster construction. I just think that although we would want for them to not succeed, I just think that given the makeup of their roster, given Russell Wilson and his presence on the roster, this team is going to do a lot better than people realize. And so for us, we're going to have a high draft pick on our own. And so whatever Denver's first round pick is going to be, whether that's a late first, early second, that's fine by me. It's really just icing on top, honestly. So I'm not really tripping too hard about that. But again, Zuko, thank you so much for taking the time to join me, bro. Tyler, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here at the end. I will call this a wrap. So to everyone out there, though, I will say one more time, if you guys aren't already subscribed, we're on the road to 4K. Hit that subscribe button for us, #hashtag Team Steezy, #road to 4K. Don't forget to follow my special guests here. Earlier, I had him on at Payo Time, at Zuko Samba, and then Tyler. Don't forget to follow him, show him some love. Again, much love to you guys. All love, as always. And then my guy, Not Chief, y'all have a good night. All glory to God. Good night, guys. Yeah, hey, he said it for me. As always, all glory to God. And yeah, that's going to be it for me, y'all. Steezy out.
Again, this video is going to be dedicated to Mr. Todd Nas. While that concludes this video, we have loads of other content. You don't have to stop watching there. Other content on our channel homepage, as well as our social media platforms. And again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for us. Tell a friend and tell a friend. Nothing but love, and Steezy out.